This is Behind the Verdict. I'm John Horford with Marion Cook and Christina Horford. And this is part 2 of the Idaho college murders. So if you didn't listen to part 1, go back wherever you're listening, listen to part 1, and then come back and listen to this one. We ended the last one saying that we were going to talk about how this murderer was caught. And in the first episode, we had discussed some of the cameras and things around the area where the people lived. Where the
1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho.
You got it. 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, home of University of Idaho. Go Vandals.
That's true. Yes. But before we get into that piece, one of the things I want to kind of say is to John and Christina, sometimes I'm sorry if I talk a lot, because on cases like this, I get so incredibly passionate about the details that I think it's an occupational hazard as a prosecutor. I memorize all the things.
We're just
You're
in
good
awe.
at your job.
We're impressed. We just sit back and let you take over. We love the passion.
Well, I just want to
Tells
say
the
I'm
story
sorry. I don't
well.
mean to talk the whole thing
No,
through,
please
but
do.
there's so many details swirling in my head. It's hard to know which spot to choose to go to next.
I love it.
How about how they caught this killer?
Okay,
yeah.
that's a good spot.
How'd they catch him? What was he driving?
We talked a little bit about the white car that he was driving, and it was a very specific Elantra. Is that right?
It was a white Hyundai Elantra.
I just don't like that word. It's weird.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
I don't know why. But they saw on various different cameras around the house, 1122 King Road, where they were murdered, that this car kind of, for lack of a better phrase, cased the house, stalked the house, not just that day, but weeks before, months before. This car was going back and forth around. And again, this was an area where I want to say it was like a cul-de-sac or something to that effect, where this wasn't like a thoroughfare where you could drive to get to other roads.
You don't accidentally necessarily drive past this place multiple times.
Exactly. So they were able to locate that car at a nearby university apartment complex for Washington University, and they were able to link it to him. Now, one of the interesting things at the crime scene is the murderer, in his frenzy to kill these four, actually left the knife sheath. It was a K-Bar brand knife, very large. If you've seen the photos of it, it's very large.
It's a military knife.
It is.
Right.
And he left that knife sheath next to Maddie Mogan on the bed. Probably just forgot that he took it out after frenzily killing Maddie and Kaylee.
Doesn't it seem a little strange that he would forget it after going through the effort of putting out the survey and questioning all of these people that had committed crimes on how not to get caught? And number one was probably
Don't leave shit behind.
Don't leave evidence behind.
Probably, but when you're in that frenzy and you've just frantically murdered 2 people and you beat one of them and stabbed them both to death, you might not be thinking as clearly. You're like, holy shit, I did it. Now I got to get out of here. And it was probably dark. It was in the middle of the night, so there may not have been a lot of light in that room. He probably made sure to grab the knife itself because they never found that, but probably didn't think twice about the sheath, in my opinion.
Would they have been able to convict him if they didn't find, and we haven't talked about this yet, but you can go into detail if you'd like, the DNA that matched his father on the sheath?
I think it would have been harder without the DNA. So on this sheath itself, there is a button that snaps basically. Once you put the knife in, it's like a little strap over the top of the knife to keep it in the sheath. And inside the snap itself was DNA. So they were able to locate that. I think what they did is they got the driver of a white Hyundai Elantra, and it's this person, and then they do the DNA, and now they need something to compare it to. So the police worked with police, I believe it was his home state of Pennsylvania, and they were able to do what's called a trash pull. Do you know what that is?
I do.
Okay.
They pulled literally trash, something that his father had thrown away out of the trash.
But let's talk about, do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in your trash?
Clearly not.
You don't. Once you put it out to the curb, it is no longer yours.
So could anyone in the public go through your trash as well? Just curious.
Technically, I mean,
I just wanted. Yeah,
I don't want you to go start doing that.
we're going to do that.
What?
It's legal.
They didn't need a search warrant for it.
But anyone legally can go through someone else's trash. I'm just like,
Well, think about it. If like you have a bunch of shit you put out by the road you don't want anymore, and maybe some other people think they're treasures, they go take it. It's okay.
it's legal.
It's garbage.
It's garbage.
It's
So
garbage.
there's no law against going through someone else's garbage.
So imagine the poor law enforcement officers in Pennsylvania who had to go through the garbage and try to find anything that might have DNA on it. And they found used Kleenex tissues. So they took those and they developed a DNA profile, and they compared that to the murderer's profile on the button of that knife sheath, and it was a match. And they can actually show what degree of affinity that it is, and it showed it would have been the murderer's father. I mean, that's pretty substantial evidence.
But without that, could they have gotten the conviction if they never got that?
I don't think he would have pled without that. I think they would have been able to develop more through what they used, not only the video of the car, but they also found cell phone data that linked to him. And the cell phone data would show him when the car was in the area during the weeks and months prior. It would show that his cell phone was in the area the weeks and months prior. It also showed him leaving his house in the very early morning hours of April 13th, 2022.
But then it shut off.
But he shut it off during the murders and then turned it back on. That's a
Yeah.
really good argument.
Enough to convict, though?
Well, you've got to put it all together. What else could they have found? I think there's a lot of evidence we don't know yet because of that gag order.
So clearly there was no like DNA evidence underneath like the fingernails of
We
someone
don't
who
know
tried
that
to
for
fight
sure.
back.
We don't know that.
So why would they say that they were able to link him to the case from the Kleenex if there was, for example, skin underneath the fingernails or his blood on somebody's like hands or something?
Well, if you are out at a party, you maybe not under your fingernails, but if you pick up a glass somebody else had or you touch something, you may have touched DNA, and it could show something differently. But in this case, clearly nobody at that house had a K-bar style knife. And so that would have been left by the person who wielded the knife and murdered these four. So that's really like a critical link.
So let's ask this, and I guess we don't know all of the details and all of the evidence that has been found, but had he not left the sheath, would he have been convicted?
It's hard to say without knowing what other evidence they may have or may not have. It would have been much harder.
Could they have gotten the
Just off the
warrant
Elantra.
to arrest him without that? Because that was like
That was their probable cause for the warrant.
Do you think the other evidence was probable cause?
I think it's circumstantial, and when you look at the difference between direct and circumstantial evidence, circumstantial can be built upon each other like the pieces of a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put it together, you see the clear picture. So it depends on how many other pieces to the puzzle they might have had that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part because we're speculating. We don't know what they had.
And that may come out in the coming weeks.
Yeah. The gag order's been lifted, but nobody has really gone after it much. And quite honestly, I expected somebody like Nancy Grace or somebody like that to say, hey, I want all this. I want to analyze it all, and maybe she will.
You could be Nancy Grace.
It would be fun. I would love to do that kind of thing.
Are we going to reach out?
We should.
We should.
Yeah.
You know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should reach out and say, hey, we want to be on your show, or you should be on ours.
No, wait, not Nancy Grace. I just mean getting the details and then talking
I
about
was
them
all
on this
focused
show.
about Nancy Grace.
I don't know. Christina loves Nancy Grace.
See?
So.
Right, Christina? That'd be fun.
You guys, I didn't know she was alive. I thought that was like a historical detective figure.
Now, she has her own crime show.
Good old Nancy Grace.
Sorry, just ignore me.
I don't know. I mean, I think it would be interesting. I did hear the prosecutor speaking today saying that, if people were to file a Freedom of Information Act pursuant to Idaho law, that there would be a lot of details redacted for the protection of the families, for the protection of witnesses, that kind of thing. And I understand that. I really do. But there's also a need to kind of know what happened. And I think really that's for the families themselves. Some of the families have expressed outrage about how the case was handled and what brought it on from there.
What were they upset about?
They were upset about the plea deal.
Why did he get a plea deal?
I'd love to answer that. I'd love to have a one-on-one with the prosecutor and say, what the hell? Now, what they said out loud was, it is very difficult when you have a case that is a death penalty case, which is how this was charged initially, because if you convict somebody of a case where there is the death penalty, there are appeals that go on for years, sometimes decades. And if you get a liberal court or something wasn't done exactly with an I dotted and a T crossed, convictions can be overturned. So that's a pretty scary concept. But here's a side note. Do you know how they inflict the death penalty in cases in Idaho?
How they kill people?
Yeah,
Do they do it by firing squad?
they do. It used to be by lethal injection, but they had some issues where that didn't work for some people.
Yep.
And so they changed it to actually a firing squad.
Holy shit.
Isn't it everyone has blanks except for one person and you don't know who that person is and they all aim for the heart?
I'm not sure how that works, but I think in this case they all should not have blanks.
Oh, okay.
I don't think
Light 'em up.
he deserves. I don't think he deserves to live after what he did, to be honest with you.
I agree.
So
valid.
what happened is the families had been involved with the prosecution up until that point. They were preparing for trial. They thought everything was moving ahead. They were supposed to start trial in just a couple weeks. And they were contacted on a Friday by email that said, this is the potential parameters of a plea agreement. And it didn't necessarily say, at least according to one of the families, it didn't say they'd already made the offer to the defense. And two of the families seemed understanding of why that would happen. They wanted the person to be convicted. They wanted the people to be safe. They didn't want the person or the perpetrator to have any other ability to murder or hurt anyone else. And they also didn't want to deal with the potential decades of appeals that could happen. The other family members, however, said that they were appalled at the idea of a plea agreement, that he will be able to live and watch TV and read books and eat things and do things, even incarcerated, that their children will never be able to do. They will never be able to grow past the age they were at on November 13th, 2022.
So why did the prosecutor accept this plea deal?
Well, that's $1 million question. I can
You're
understand.
a prosecutor.
I know, but I wouldn't have taken this deal.
But why?
What was in the deal?
Put yourself in this individual's shoes. Why did this individual accept this plea
Well, I
deal?
wouldn't have wore the shoes. But if I were in
You're
those
wearing them.
shoes, I think they thought it was better so that there were not more appeals. It was verified convictions, and he was going to be convicted of all of them. They made it also that it would be life without the possibility of parole. He pled to 4 counts of murder, 1 for each of the victims, and also a count of burglary. So he pled to 5 counts altogether.
Burglary.
Yep.
Why?
Because he broke in.
He broke in. And like Michigan law would have,
Do you have to take something for it to be burglary,
not
though?
necessarily. So in Michigan, we call it home invasion.
Okay, home
And
invasion, breaking and entering.
If you enter while present in or exiting, commit a larceny, which is a stealing, or commit an assault, or commit a felony, then you can be convicted. So I would assume their burglary statute is somewhat similar to Michigan's in that regard.
Gotcha.
The problem that some of the families had, and that I too have with it, like as a prosecutor, I can understand the whole appeal thing. I get it. That is a solid conviction. You don't have to worry about it. However, in my opinion, what they should have done is they should have made him take a polygraph to say what he did and why, and make sure that it says he's telling the truth. And then he should have had to give a account, if you will, of what he did, of the motive, of why, of how, because some of those families have said this is going to haunt us for the rest of our lives. We are not only, this was Kaylee's family primarily, we're not only have lost her, but we have no idea what happened to her. We can't have closure until we know what happened.
Is there any law in the United States, any state that has a law that can force killers to explain their motive?
Well, prosecutors have the pen that dictates what the plea agreement's going to be. If that were me, I
So
would
that could
have
be part of the plea agreement.
I would have written it into the plea agreement. You can do this, however, you are going to give what we call a factual basis, what you did and why.
So why wouldn't this prosecutor ask for that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Were they worried that he was going to get off somehow?
You know, when you're a prosecutor, you like to think you have a case that is solid. It is indisputable. It is all the things. But you don't never know what a jury's going to do. We've talked about that before. Juries sometimes have come back not guilty on cases I was flabbergasted at. I thought I had more than enough evidence on all kinds of things, and they come back not guilty. And so maybe they were afraid of sending it to a jury, but it sounds like the issue more revolved around the death penalty and how that would work. And, you know, if you're going to charge that, in my opinion, you can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid of not getting it or of getting it. Either way, you have to look at it from what's the right thing to do. And I think the other part that bothers me is it doesn't sound like the families were really given an opportunity to say, we agree with this or we don't agree with this. And that's where I have a problem, because on any case I've had victims, whether it's death cases or not, but particularly the death cases, I always make sure to include the families and ask them what they would like to see happen as a result of this, kind of get their opinion. Now, I always preface it is up to the prosecutor's office to make the final determination, but I do, as a prosecutor, want to take into account their wishes if I can. It's important to do that.
That clearly didn't happen in this case.
It did not happen.
So strange.
Yeah.
So he's already a super weird guy. We have no idea why he did what he did, but the prosecutor was okay setting up a plea deal that allowed him to never explain what he did and giving no genuine closure to these families.
Right.
It's pretty heartless.
Maybe they have a reason for it, but I haven't heard it yet. And I can't imagine.
As a prosecutor, what are we missing? What's the positive spin on this? What's the silver lining?
I can't imagine why they wouldn't consult the family. The only thing that comes to mind is if the defense said, hey, we will do this if you give us X, Y, and Z of what they did, but we need to do it and we need an agreement now. And maybe they had to make a snap
So
call.
How could the prosecutor be worried about this individual getting off?
Because you never know what a jury's going to do, John. You really don't.
So juries just scare the hell out of people.
Well, sometimes.
I have a thought back to something you said in the last episode, but you said, why did he leave the other two roommates alive?
Yes.
Maybe because they were going to spin it and try and like pin it on somebody, weren't they?
Yeah, so that's a good point.
And he was in criminology. Like he would know, you know what I mean?
One of the things that came out in the motions that both the defense and the prosecutor filed getting ready for trial is that his team picked out 4 people who were on social media, friends of multiple of the victims, and was going to try to pin these murders on those 4 innocent people. Just deflect and point away from evidence from himself and point to somebody else, just to try to get reasonable doubt. And think about it. What if, for some odd reason, one of those people just wasn't likable or seemed kind of weird or whatever, and you get one of those jurors fixated on, oh, it could have been person X instead of the murderer himself. And now suddenly you've got one, and that's all you need to hang up the entire jury system.
And there were people that internet sleuths had originally thought committed these crimes.
Yes.
None of them were the person who did.
Right.
Yep.
The guy in the hoodie.
The guy in the hoodie at the food truck.
At the food truck.
Because you see the 2 girls, Maddie and Kaylee, walking off screen, and he pulls his hood up and like walks out after them.
And he like points at them.
And then walks out after them. And so that looks sketchy. I get it looks sketchy, but don't go ruining this guy's life because he thought, hey, he's going to hit on a pretty girl as she walks away.
Yeah, he's super awkward.
I mean, come on.
Doesn't make him a murderer.
But did you hear about that website? And I can't think of it right now. It's called Papa something.
Papa Rogers.
Papa Rogers, yeah. So as all of these internet sleuth people are out there, like trying to figure it all out and theorizing this happened or that happened.
It's like a Facebook group chat or like conversation.
Well, it's a Facebook persona. called Papa Rogers, and he would go on all of these different pages and theorize, oh, I bet it was this. I bet it was hoodie guy. I bet something whatever.
Just to stir things up?
Just to stir things up. And ironically, when you pull up, if you Google it right now and pull up the photo for Papa Rogers, because it's no longer active on Facebook, but if you pull it up, it looks like this murderer.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like an older version.
It's like a cartoon
Oh,
side
really?
profile,
Yeah.
and it looks exactly
So
like
he
him.
was going out and trying to make people believe that it was these other people who committed the crime.
And it was Papa Rogers who suddenly went silent when the murderer was arrested.
Yep.
There were no further posts. Imagine that. You
So
can't
that
do it
could
from
have been.
jail.
So that could have been part of the plea deal too. Like, are you Papa Rogers?
Maybe, but I mean, that wasn't really significant. But you need to see that photo. It
I
looks
don't
just
know.
like him.
It's interesting to know what his whole plan was, what the motive behind it was, what he was doing to try to deflect his own guilt to other people.
Well-
I personally, I think it's interesting. You're a prosecutor. You
know,
tell
one
us.
of the things we didn't talk about, so he was in that TA position at Washington University, but he had been admonished at least twice that fall semester for treating female students differently.
What does that word mean that you use? Admonished?
Admonished.
What does that
He
mean?
got in trouble with his
Yeah.
supervisors at work.
Oh,
They took him in and gave him a talking to.
A spanking.
Not a spanking.
so that's like documented.
It is documented.
Okay.
And he had to, I don't remember all the things, but they gave him like a list of things that he needed to do, be fair, all these things to the females. But he also creeped a few of them out, the way he would say things and talk about them.
Because he's an incel.
Yes.
Was he an incel though?
I mean, one of the
probably.
students, he told her she had good birthing hips. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh.
It's creepy. It's creepy. So he was told he needed to basically shape up or he was done.
Tone it down.
And they decided right before winter break that he was done. He was being fired. And that was how he got an on-campus housing. That's how he paid for tuition, was that TA job. And so if you kind of think about how he was treating those students, think about somebody who rebuffs him, who won't go out with him, who's a pretty girl he's trying to hit on at a restaurant,
That he frequents.
Because
he's vegan.
and she blows him off, and it pissed him off to no end.
That's all it takes sometimes.
That's what
Yeah.
I
I think
think.
they're entitled.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Poor women. That sucks.
But you know, the saddest part of all this, and I say this whenever we talk about a case, is going back to those 4 victims and their families. I mean, these kids had everything before them. You know, they were living the fun college life. They had friends who loved them, family who loved them. They had plans for the future, and it was all basically just taken away for what? I mean, this guy,
We
this
don't
murderer's
know.
feelings
Nothing.
are hurt
There's no
because
reason,
he wouldn't.
like-
Somebody wouldn't go out with him. Who knows?
It's a very, very strange. So in your mind, I think I know what you're going to say anyway, but Christina, maybe you. What does justice look like in this case?
That's
Ask
a good
Myrene.
question.
She's.
No, you go first.
No,
I
don't
have
know.
an answer.
Go.
It's not life without parole, but he doesn't have to disclose motive or anything.
He's gonna write a manifesto,
is
or
that
he's gonna
justice?
like have pen pals. He's gonna.
He's going to have pen
Admit-
pals.
So there was no justice served, even though he's
No, I think
getting
it's-
life without parole.
I think there is some justice that is served, that he's gotten 4 life sentences back to back with no possibility of parole, no possibility of appeals. I think there is some justice in that. However, I think it falls incredibly, incredibly short of justice for the family and for the victims, because they don't know what happened to their loved ones. And he doesn't have to say what he did. And then, you know, we haven't even talked yet about sentencing, but sentencing for him was today, actually. And there were multiple members of each of the families that spoke on their loved one's behalf. A couple of the things stood out to me. So at every sentencing, a defendant has the absolute right to address the court. Most oftentimes, they are apologetic. They are respectful. They say, you know, they have learned a lesson. They're sorry for what they did. It was wrong. Some sort of showing that they understand the nature of what they did and how wrong it was. And in this case, he said 3 words and 3 words only when asked if he wanted to address the court. Do you know what they are?
We talked about it before.
Yeah, I feel like I'm cheating because I already have the answer.
I respectfully decline. What a chicken shit thing to do.
But is it polite?
No.
He didn't want to give the satisfaction to those families, quite honestly.
Or maybe he's just scared. I don't know. He's a weird dude.
No, he didn't want to give them the satisfaction. He got to sit there and listen to how what he did hurt all these people, how it affected them. One of the stepfathers, I think it was Matty Mogan, said he wanted to take the murderer out into the woods just for a few minutes and show him what pain and loss really felt like. And he said he was having such a hard time, he was shaking at the podium because he just basically wanted to attack this guy.
So is that justice? Letting the families have him in the woods for 5 minutes?
No, because that's not the same type of pain that they're feeling. You know what I mean? Like, and he probably doesn't care about anybody the way that like those people were cared for.
Yeah.
I think Myrene was going to say it is justice.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
no, I think the death penalty would have been justice.
Yeah, so that's death.
But not that
they
way.
Would kill him, and they would kill him in
Not
that
that
5
way.
minutes.
But one of the,
Why not that way?
because those are good people and they're going to have to live with that, and that would be hard for them to do. And I
But
don't
for
think
some
that's
reason,
right.
but they're saying that they think it would bring some level of satisfaction, some level of like catharsis.
It would give you that initial moment of feeling like you found justice, but then you'd have to live with the fact you took someone's life, and that may be a lot harder than we think it would be.
And that's why the firing squad people, there are 4 blanks and 1 live, and or I don't know the exact number, but I think it's just 1 live round. So no one knows who actually killed him. So in your mind, it's like, are you the person who killed him? We don't know who killed him
Yeah.
for that reason, right?
Well, I suppose I would put
What
live
if-
rounds in every single
But then
solitary one.
but then they all have to take the responsibility, and then 5 people or however many are living with the fact that they murdered this individual versus not knowing who actually killed this person.
I understand that, but for people in that profession, it's a little different than these family members who.
Is it?
It is.
Is it?
It is. It is. We can agree to
Why?
disagree, but
It's
is.
not. It's not even people in that profession, because I'm pretty sure, at least in the state of Utah, I don't know about the state of Idaho. You basically you write in, or you put your name into like a lottery or a raffle or something to be selected to be one of these individuals.
Why do you know Utah laws about that?
But if you do
I was
that,
listening to a podcast
you
about
might
it.
see it differently.
Yeah.
But these are family members who lost their loved one, and I just don't think it would be right. But so there's 2 other people I want to comment on. One of the aunts of Xana Kernoodle actually said she chose to forgive him because if she didn't, it would haunt her more, and that she does really want to know what happened. And when he's ready to talk, she said, "Here's my phone number. You can call me," which was kind of interesting because you don't know at this point if he's going to tell you the truth or he's going to make shit up.
Exactly.
Number one. But the other one I want to mention is Olivia Gonzalez, who was the oldest sister of Kaylee. She was pretty sassy. I don't know if you saw her victim impact statement, but the minute she got up there, she looked, well, her dad was already up there, and he turned the podium not to address the judge, but to address the murderer, staring right at the murderer. And usually victim impact statements are made to the court, not the murderer themselves. So the podium was already turned to look straight at the murderer. And when the oldest sister of Kaylee got up there, she told the murderer to sit up straight and listen to her because she had things to say.
Did he?
Hell yeah.
He kind of sat up a little
Did
bit,
he?
a little bit, not
Did
a
he?
ton, but just kind of like, I think it took him aback.
The I respectfully decline guy sat up.
But you've got a female telling you that even if you're not going to sit up because you respect her, you're like, "Psh, who is this person to tell me anything?
Mm-hmm.
I'll kill you too if I get out, right? Think about it.
Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, but this is a person who should never have the ability, in my opinion, to get out, to talk about it. Now, he can't profit off of it. There are laws in every state that don't allow murderers to profit off what they did.
But he doesn't have the ability to get out.
Well, not right now he doesn't, but what if somewhere down the line laws change and those who are on death row don't get left on death row. They're taken off. That happens all the time. What if laws change and life without parole suddenly becomes, oh, you've done enough if you've done 20, 30, what is it, Menendez brothers, 34 years, and you can get out. They had life without, and now look.
Christina wants him out today.
But my point is, laws change, and things happen.
Could a presidential pardon get him out?
No, because it was state charges, right? Presidential pardons don't apply to state charges, but the governor could.
The governor could
pardon.
Give clemency.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The governor could, yeah.
But you see my point? Like, is that going to be justice someday if that were to happen? This guy doesn't deserve it.
So
he doesn't.
Certain people you just have to kill. And we've talked about it before. So it has to go down.
People don't often think I'm going to say the death penalty is something you should do. And I don't think it's for every case. But for a guy like this murderer who took 4 lives for no reason, they weren't doing anything to him. They weren't attacking him. This wasn't self-defense. It wasn't anything.
What if they had made fun of him or something? And it's not, I'm not saying it's not a justification for murdering someone, but they all came to see one of the one girl who Maddie worked at the
and Xana
vegan.
worked at the
They
vegan
both
restaurant.
did.
Yes.
They went to go see him and they saw this creepy dude eating alone and they just started like laughing at him. What if it was a situation? We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know.
You think laughing at somebody and bullying justifies?
I literally already said
this out.
You're just trying to like stir things up. I already prefaced it by saying that it's not.
You're just trying to figure out a motive, like what pissed him off so bad. Yeah.
Yes,
I think it was he wanted to go out with one of them and they turned him down.
For sure.
And maybe he kept on and he pressed and maybe they finally had enough and said, "Dude, stop. You're
salt
weird."
in the wound. Like he hit on Maddie and then Maddie was like, ew, gross. And then went and told Xana and they pointed at him and he was eating his vegan food alone at a table like that. And they were like whispering to each other. Why else do you go that far? To stalk these individuals, to take weeks and case the place and to go in to brutally murder them. I mean.
But do you think
that's
we
so far.
As rational people with common sense can figure out why the mentally unbalanced, irrational people do what they do?
They still have reasons.
Not necessarily.
They still
he
have
could have
reasons.
been hearing voices for all we know. We don't know.
Nothing that you think is going to be like good enough reason to justify what he did.
I blame the prosecutor for not making this a part of the plea deal.
I do too.
And that, but okay,
Wholeheartedly.
how about this? Is it possible that it is a part of the plea deal, but the prosecutor agreed to only tell the family?
No, because the families have gotten mad.
After today.
I don't see that happening.
After the sentencing.
I don't see that happening.
They deserve that.
Because they would have had to put the entire plea agreement on the record at the time the plea was taken.
So there's no like hidden parts that you can keep off the record? There's nothing you can keep off the record?
No.
So we have the entire plea deal. We can access it?
It's my understanding. Yeah, it's out there. They say it on the record and they can put it in writing too, but they have to say it so there's a memorialization of what exactly all the parameters were, because the judge will say at the time of a plea, has anyone promised you anything, threatened you? Has anyone forced you to do this? Are you doing it voluntarily and of your free will? I mean, those are almost exact words that has to be used at every single solitary plea. And then you have to put the entire plea agreement on the record. Usually, like today, I did this multiple times. You have to prosecutor state the plea agreement. The plea agreement is A, B, C, D, E, and F, judge. Defense attorney, do you agree with A, B, C, D, and F? Yes. Defendant, do you agree with A, B, C, D, and F? Yes. Is there anything else that's not been placed on the record as part of this deal? No. It has to be out there. Like I said, I understand the whole appellate process and it takes that away. I just don't understand why you wouldn't give the families that sense of decency and just talk about it with them. I don't understand that. I really don't. It baffles me. Did you see the sentences or any of the sentencings today?
I only saw Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, and it was like a side by side of her speaking and his reaction while she was speaking. And there's
no
nothing
reaction.
there.
It's blank, right?
There's no one back there behind those eyes.
Yeah.
And she was so emotional. I was like emotional listening to her, like, oh my God.
The other surviving roommate, Bethany, wrote a statement, but she couldn't do it herself. She had her friend, who was the friend she called to come to the house that morning. She had her friend give the statement. And that was even a struggle for the friend to be able to say all the things. But I believe like most of the parents spoke. There were aunts, there were grandparents that spoke, there were friends.
I'm glad he had to sit and listen to all of it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I don't think it.
But do you think it affected him? Do you
No.
think it resonated at all?
Maybe he liked it.
I think he probably liked it. I think he liked hearing about how he inflicted pain. He liked hearing about how what he did caused such a ripple effect in the lives of so many people, not just murdering the 4 innocent victims, but the lives of their family, of their friends, of the University of Idaho students, of pretty much anybody in college towns now, if you think about it. I mean, I would think after hearing and seeing something like that, you're going to lock your doors. You're going to be different. You're going to not walk home alone. You're going to do things so much differently than you did in carefree days before shit like this happened.
Yeah, one of the
Absolutely.
friends in the second documentary that we watched said that she had never locked her doors
Yeah.
ever before this,
Right.
which you should probably lock your doors
Yes.
anyway. But found some details, nothing that we haven't really talked about. Pleaded guilty to all 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, 1 for each murder charge, a 10-year term for a burglary conviction to run consecutively with the life sentences, monetary fines totaling approximately $270,000, $50,000 per murder conviction plus $5,000 civil penalty each, and $50,000 for a burglary charge. Prosecutors agreed to withdraw pursuit of death penalty in exchange for guilty plea. The killer waived his right to a jury trial by entering this plea. As part of the deal, the killer waived his right to appeal. He can appeal it, or he technically can appeal it still. Can he still appeal it?
I don't believe he could appeal the plea itself. It's maybe the process. And
Okay.
so you don't have an automatic right to appeal. You have to be granted an appeal by right. And that means the appellate courts have to think something went wrong in the plea process or the sentencing process
Got you.
that was so egregious that they need to take a look at it.
So in that case, he could appeal.
Perhaps.
Okay.
It depends on how they worded
And
it.
then it also said he needs to submit DNA under this plea's requirements. A written factual basis was filed where he admits to deliberate premeditated murders but provides no detail of motive or explanation.
Well, the written factual basis was written by the prosecutor's office based on the evidence they have.
Yeah.
It wasn't written by him, and it wasn't a
Got
confession,
you. Okay.
which is the other part that sucks.
It does suck,
And he
right?
loves that he has that over every. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
It's
he's
just
the
so-
he
only
knows
one that-
something other people don't know, and they want to know, and he's not going to give it up.
But the prosecutor allowed that to happen.
They did.
They have to have a reason. I know I'm beating this dead horse. They have to have a reason. That's
I don't
good.
see one that's good enough. I don't.
Think,
and
Myron, think.
I don't go after prosecutors. I'm in that profession. But in this case, if there's a reason, they need to say it, because I don't understand why they wouldn't make him articulate what he did.
Yeah.
While you're looking stuff up, literally Google Papa Rogers. I want to see your face when you look at the photo,
Okay.
side by side.
right? I mean, it is.
It is.
It is uncanny and scary.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
See?
It could.
Yeah, but then all the posts stop as soon as he's arrested.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is that true, or is that like?
No, it's
Yeah.
true. And there was a serial killer. I forget his name, but his last name was Rogers,
Oh.
right?
Probably.
No, literally.
Roger. Was it start with an E? Edward or?
There was a serial killer who had Roger in his name somehow, right, Christina? And
Right, Christina?
Yeah.
no, she's nodding. So I'm like, yeah, right.
You didn't watch that episode. That was the
And-
last one.
Of what?
The documentary.
Oh,
the
yeah.
4-part.
But it was a serial killer that he researched and, like, I don't want to, maybe idolized. I don't know.
Some of the girls in his class were
Glenn
like,
Rogers?
thought it
Glenn
was
Rogers.
weird.
Yep.
The Casanova
Oh.
killer
Wait.
or the cross country killer?
Yep. He killed a lot of young women in the same sorority that Maddie or Kaylee was in.
Really?
I think it was Maddie.
Glenn Rogers was responsible for at least 2 murders and is suspected in several others across multiple states, including California, Mississippi, Florida, Ohio, and Louisiana. He targeted women he met in bars, and some of his known victims include Sandra Gallagher, Tina Marie Cribbs, Mark Peters, Linda Price, and Andy Lou Giles Sutton. He was convicted of first-degree murder in both Florida and California, and he also faced convictions for related crimes such as armed robbery, grand theft auto, and arson. He was on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, and at one point claimed to have killed nearly 70 people.
So what I think this murderer did is he analyzed all those cases of what happened, how they got caught. He did his little survey, figuring out a plan. The problem with the plan is that plans don't always go the right way. And one of the things, I don't think we talked about it on air, we were talking about it right before we started, was when police in Pennsylvania served the warrant on his parents' house to arrest him, he was literally in the kitchen with gloves on, rubber gloves, and he was separating his garbage into different baggies that they had watched him previously put in other neighbors' garbage receptacles.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
So
now.
he knew they were going to do a trash pull. He just figured if he spread out his DNA to all these places, then maybe he would deflect from himself onto other people.
And thought his dad's DNA didn't really matter, but that was smoking gun for them.
Well, obviously he didn't pay attention in that forensic analysis class, did he?
Clearly not. Is there anything else about this case that we want to touch on before we wrap up, besides being extremely I mean, I can't even imagine how frustrated the families are.
So I wanted to try to find something. There's not positive to this story, but positive in the best light I can find. And so Ethan's family, Ethan worked at a tulip farm, and the tulip farm developed a brand, if you will, of tulip, and they labeled it Ethan's Smile. And so that tulip type has been selling out. Like they cannot keep it in stock. So the Chapin family actually created a foundation called Ethan's Smile, and they give scholarships to students who were pursuing similar things as Ethan was. They do a lot of different things. And then there's also a foundation created for the friends, by the friends of Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana, and it is to give free trainings on how to be safe on campus, how to be safe as a female, different types of things. And they do presentations, and they also, I think, give scholarships too. So it seems like out of these tragedies, people are trying to find a way to help other people not become victimized as a result of the things that happened to these four. I think.
What do you think people should do to avoid these types of? It's hard to say sometimes, but there are probably specific things like,
well, certainly
locking your doors.
Locking your doors. If you hear something in your house, I would much rather people call the police and say, hey, I don't know what's going on. There's something weird here. Can you send a car over? And now, police may be like, hey, don't do that all the time. But what if they had called immediately? What if they called before he came down from murdering, the two girls, before he got to Xana and Ethan? We don't know. And it's really hard to speculate. But I do think people need to be safe. They need to be safer. Lock your doors. Pay attention to where you are and what your surroundings are. All of those kinds of things, I think, are something people should do.
Should people have guns?
It depends on if the person thinks they can or not. I mean, you need to be trained if you're going to have a weapon.
Yeah.
But you also have to have the ability to know if you have to use that weapon, can you do it in that moment of terror, in that moment of attack? Mm-hmm. You have to be able to have that ability to do it, because otherwise somebody like this murderer would take that weapon from you and use it on you.
Yeah, I mean, so at least have mace.
Mace is a good tool to have, yeah.
A taser.
Potentially, but,
could be used on you if you mess up.
Completely legal either at times.
Are they not?
No.
Oh, we got to get rid of all of our tasers.
Shh,
Darn.
don't say things out. No brass knuckles.
I don't have any of that stuff, although we do have
Can
guns.
I circle back really quick? Because the Roger guy that he admired or whatever was
Elliot Roger.
Elliot Roger.
I found that one too. The misogynist
He was like a
killer who
young guy.
became the
he was
incel
an incel.
hero.
Yeah. And he was martyred in the incel community.
So we're just throwing Glenn Rogers and Richard Rogers Jr. under the bus, and the whole time it was really Elliot Rogers. Yeah, I found a BBC article that was talking about it, but
Thank you for finding that, because I knew it was something Roger, but I could not remember that detail. I had too many other details in my head.
You've carried this episode,
you've carried both these episodes.
For sure.
Like I said, I'm sorry. I start talking about things like this, and I just can't stop. I'm very passionate, and as a prosecutor, I know there are so many prosecutors who do the right thing, and I'm not saying this prosecutor didn't do the right thing, and maybe they reached out to the family more, but it doesn't seem like that from the comments that the Gonzalez family has made or the Kernoodle family has made. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not an easy job to wade through all of that evidence, and you know, like I mentioned before, the prosecutor's team who had to look at all of that, who had to look at those crime scene photos, I'm sure will never be able to get those images out of their heads.
Really quick, why do you think he waited so long to take the plea deal?
So when a case is set for trial, both sides file a bunch of motions, and basically motions are just legal arguments to see if the defense can get this evidence suppressed or the prosecutor wants to use this prior act or something. And so both sides are filing lots of motions, and the court has to decide. I think a lot of the motions the defense filed got shot down by the judge, and so the angles they were trying for were no longer angles that were viable, and I think they started to see the writing on the wall. I also think that, you know, because they filed a motion to change venue because they said he wouldn't get a fair shot in Moscow. Well, you're probably right. But however,
that's where you did it. My
argument as a prosecutor, you're not going to get a fair shot anywhere. National news has been carrying this thing since November 13th, 2022.
Unless he gets an incel or two on the jury.
Maybe, but
involuntarily
it got moved to
celibate guys.
Where did it get moved to? Boise? I mean, some other place in Idaho. So it's not like it's that far away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't understand the thought, but I think they waited till the last minute to see if they would win some of those motions. And when they lost, they were like, all right, look, the writing's on the wall. We better figure out what can we get and how.
Yeah.
It also, you know, one of the family members today in the sentencing said, you know, I'm going to address you, murderer, and your family. You have besmirched. You have put a stain on your family name, on your friends, on the rest of your family that they will never be able to recover from because of your actions. Maybe the defendant felt badly for his family. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. They don't want to put their family through it because, let's be honest, it would have been a very covered by the media type of trial. We don't know yet if the court would have allowed cameras in like the OJ case or no cameras in. And there were a lot of details we just don't know yet. Yeah. So maybe he didn't want his family to hear how badly he beat them and stabbed them and all the things he did.
Yeah, a lot of the family members, I feel like I remember them saying they don't even watch the news anymore. They were like, because it could just pop up at any moment. I mean, It's been going on for years. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. There was one of the moms that said she initially loved that photo of all the kids and then just couldn't look at it anymore when it came on the news because she knew that was just a day before, hours before they lost their lives and they didn't know it was coming. Mm-hmm. I mean, how sad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. So any other details you guys want to touch on before we wrap this case up? And
not that I can think of.
I think I said all the things.
You said all the things, and it was
well.
wonderful, Marion. It's a nice change of pace from all of the people on TikTok calling you the crazy liberal woman, which is hilarious.
Okay, first of all, let me just say this as like sort of a defense. If anybody really knows me, I am not at all liberal. I'm really not. I'm probably more conservative than they would ever think is possible.
I know, but you're also rational. And you being rational related to certain topics we've discussed has made people think that you're a crazy liberal person.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I want to end on is I want people to understand that as a prosecutor, I put the victims first as much as I humanly possibly can. Like what they think, how they see the case. I want them to feel like they're involved. I want them to know I'm listening, which is one of the reasons on homicide cases I ask families for happy photos of their loved one, and they kind of look at me like, why do you need that? And I tell them that this is just going to use the names of the victims here. This would be Maddie's file, Kaylee's, Ethan's, or Xana's file because I have their photo on it. So every day I touch that file, it's their file, not just a file that sits on somebody's desk. So I just say that to clear my name a little. I want people to understand that victims always come first in my book, always.
Yeah. And you've said that on numerous episodes.
I do. But, sometimes we as prosecutors take the last moment to repeat ourselves because we can.
You can do whatever you want, Marianne.
Remind people.
Yeah.
You haven't even argued with me once, John. It's weird.
You've broken my spirit.
Oh, come
I have
on.
How can we argue on this case, honestly?
Yeah,
You
there are
really
a lot of
can't.
cases that we can't argue and we're on the same page. The last one that we were really at odds on was Karen Reed.
Karen Reed, yeah.
Yeah, we all know how that ended.
Hey, I said she was going to be acquitted.
No. But the episode where, you chose one side, I chose the other. Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes it's fun to just play devil's advocate and say, could you look at it this way? Could you not?
And people also called you a crazy liberal for that case, too.
Right? They did,
Which
but I'm not.
Was also hilarious because they don't know Marianne at all. All right. Well, if you have questions, if we missed any details, if there's a specific case that you would like us to discuss, reach out. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, BTV_pod.
We're still looking for ratings, so please, honestly, go on any of those sites and give us ratings. We want to know what you honestly think. What can we do to improve? What is it we're doing you like? Let us know.
Yeah, share with your friends. Tell your family about it. What else, Christina? We got to involve you in this somehow.
See ya.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Mwah.